you mentioned Tech 9 and Eminem. What was it like working with them?
Well, I did actually one of the first ever national big interviews with Eminem. Because I had told the LA Times about him because I was at the Rap Olympics where he came in famously second place. So I knew who he was from that. I'd heard about him, but then actually see him perform and to see him like annihilate everybody in that competition, but then win the second place. Obviously he was easy to recognize and remember because he was white, but then I also remembered of his lines and all this other stuff because it was out here in LA. I just happened to be out here because I was still living in Maryland at the time. But then when he started coming up independently, and then when he signed with Interscope, I remembered him. And then I did a couple interviews with him early on, and then I wrote a big story on him in the LA Times, which was one of the first big national stories on him. So I was around him before the Slim Shady LP came out. He hadn't even put that out yet, and I'd interviewed him at that point at least twice. So I got to see him as the momentum was going and growing, and he was surprised I knew a lot of his independent underground stuff he had been doing in New York. So we had a good relationship, and that helped when I then later wrote and produced the Ultimate Albums episode for VH1 on the Marshall Mathers LP. And just to see him, that was in 2002. So to see him progress from the 97, 98 era just up to 2002, like his life had done basically a 180. He had totally gone from a super underground rapper that was just trying to get on to the biggest rapper in the world. And I think it's funny in retrospect, and I thought about it when we were doing the Marshall Mathers LP Ultimate Albums episode, is that Eminem Show and 8 Mile were about to come out. So the Marshall Mathers LP had sold around 10 million at that point or a little less. And the Slim Shady LP had done like 4 million. So to go quadruple platinum for anybody would be a huge accomplishment. But with the Marshall Mathers LP and then with the Eminem Show right after that, the Slim Shady LP was just so dwarfed commercially that those other albums more than doubled the sales. So that was kind of crazy to realize and understand and appreciate because very few rappers have had a 4 times platinum album. And at that time, that was like the least selling album of Eminem's major label releases. So that was just mind blowing. And then as far as Tech 9, I'd been following Tech 9 since I was in college when he had signed to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis's Perspective Records. And then he was on QD3's Quest Records. So I was getting these advanced albums that never came out and some of this music that never came out of Tech. So I was very much aware of him and had been following him because I really liked his stuff. And then when he signed with Strange Music or launched with Strange Music and had the deal with J Core for Angelic, that's when I got to really meet him and talk to him. And I wrote about him in the Source. I was doing all this writing on him because I thought he was an amazing artist and was definitely bringing things different to the table. I developed a relationship with him there through his publicist, Betsy Bolte, at the time, through Dave Weiner, who worked at Strange Music at the time, and then both Tech and Travis O'Gwen, as well as the other people behind the scenes. So I got to go to Kansas City back in the day with them early on in the game, like in 2001, 2000. And then I just kept in touch and kept working with them and kept supporting them because I thought they had a lot of great music. And then after I'd done the Eminem Ultimate Albums episode, I just told them like, hey man, we should do something with Tech. You guys are doing a lot of stuff independently. And they were like, yeah, you're right. And that's how we got to do um, the Tech 9 Experience, the first DVD that I wrote and produced. And just to see Tech keep growing and developing and becoming such a amazing, platinum artist now. Again, I remember when Strange Music headquarters was in the basement of Travis O'Gwen's house in Kansas City, in the Kansas City area. Now, if people follow either Travis or Tech or Strange Music, you see the levels that they've achieved, and it's all remarkable, and it's really phenomenal what they've been able to do, independently. So to see both of them achieve such tremendous success from just being totally independent and trying to get out there is pretty remarkable, man. It's been amazing to see.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It seems like they on two opposite ends. Like you say, Tech 9, he got this independent empire, and of course, Eminem, he done sold more records than any other hip hop artist on earth. So that's just amazing to be a part of that in the early stages in any capacity, you know?
Absolutely, man. And it's just good to see super talented people get rewarded with commercial, critical, and financial success because, as we both know, there's so many people that are super talented but never get that shot or never get that opportunity. And both Tech 9 and Eminem are immensely talented and are two of the best rappers ever. So to see them get the commercial success, get the financial success, and get the critical success after both of them had been overlooked and derided, I would say, for the first several years of their career is pretty remarkable. The tide has turned.